Yabashima Shaiba Shimukwa Hakodash, double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, and honesty brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. The Bavai body are coming out here to give you this truth with the grace and mercy of Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashimukwa Hakodash. It's going to be a relatively quick video. I'm just going to show you a few articles here, and then I'm going to go into a scripture dealing with these British people when they go abroad. And I heard one of the elders here in England, he had mentioned it, and I thought it was just like a passing comment that he made, an observation that he had made, but I didn't really think too much about it. And yesterday, or a couple of days ago, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he had mentioned something to that effect, and I responded with these articles I'm going to show you here. And this is what you see here is the embodiment of the British people when they go abroad, when they go out as tourists, and ultimately this is an embodiment of their natural state and behavior. And you know, when you watch TV or you watch these movies on that, they'll have you believe that they're these prestigious, pristine individuals, and in the greater sense, I suppose this embodies all Edomites. But in my humble opinion, I find the American Edomite and the British Edomite are the worst of the Edomite clan. They're going to be the worst of the Edomite clan. Okay, and the scripture does say Esau was going to be despised amongst these nations. But even amongst the Edomite race, you got a situation where there is definitely a disdain against Amalek, definitely a disdain, a hatred, if you will, against the British Edomite. And there's definitely a hatred towards the American Edomite, especially when you look at it from the perspective of the Russian Edomite. The Russian Edomite hates, right, the British Edomite. The Russian Edomite hates the American Edomites. And we see within the history of Esau, there was always infighting and there was always divisions, to the end that the scripture says, a house divided up against itself shall not be able to stand. And we see that unto this day. We had the battles within the history between the Ptolemies and the Seleucid Empire, and they wanted overall control. And that's really what the battles is all about that we see, right? There's going to be an NWO, right? But the Russian Edomite, he wants control of it. And that makes sense, man. That makes sense. Okay, the JOO, they want control off of it, right? And we see the American Edomite, they want control of it. And the British Edomite, they want control off of it. Okay? So that's what the infight is all about. But also, too, when you got brothers in a household, you got one that's very academic, one that's very athletic, and one that may be somewhere in between. There's always going to be naturally conflict between those different persuasions of people. One's messy, and one's clean, and this is what we're going to be reading about here. This base man, okay, this vile creature that is the Edomite, and the worst ones of them, right? The British Edomite and the United States Edomite, who were just self-indulgent, living off of the past laurels when they conquered the world and had the world in servitude to the end. I think they had about 400 million people underneath their rulership during the Victorian era, which is what was known as the British Empire. And Little Britain, man, was able to control a vast amount of land and resources, right? You had the East India Company, and they was doing all kind of skullduggery. You had companies out there within Africa, they was doing all kind of skullduggery. And different people that was given a royal charter to go out there and basically a license to go out there, kill, rape, rob, and murder. And you know, the image that they present obviously is that Victorian Edomite with the very well tailored clothes. But the image that we see here is the reality of this base man, and it's needful to remember that this is the individual that the Most High set up to be above us. And again, like I said, America, well, I didn't say it, but I should have really said it. America, which is the head of the Edomite right now, so to speak, right? That's the woman that sitteth upon a scarlet-colored beast, pursuant to the book of Revelations, the 20th chapter. America is born out of Britain, okay? And we see very similar, well, even greater hatred towards America than we're going to read about these articles. So what do Europeans say about British tourists behind closed doors? Our destinations expert across the continent shed light on whether we really do have the worst reputation They go out into their countries and just trash the countries, man. Barely a day goes by without hearing another report of a merry British stag group rerouting a plane en route to the Greek island, right? Football aficionados getting, right, the purpose of plastic chairs, right, and or survey backpires flashing her diaries where it ought not to be flashed. Okay, and obviously I gotta, I'm not gonna do that, but the article goes on. But that's it, man. That's it. A bunch of wild, unruly individuals. And this is why the scripture says the Most High set up, right, the basis of all people to be above us. Let's go into this article. Why it seems like everybody hates the English abroad. And it goes into it. It says when England played Italy in 2020, the images went around the world, not just the Italian team who eventually won the game on penalties, and not just the devastated English team, but of the scenes at Wembley in London where the game was being held. Some fans booed the Italian anthems, others broke into the stadium, and while away in the hours before the match were getting drunk, trashing Leicester Square. And this is supposed to be their own place, man. But like I said, man, don't fall for this image where you see Esau with a pinstripe suit or whatever, and they got this image of them. Excuse me. They got this image that they push around the world where they're just so clean and pristine. This is the butt end of humanity, man. This is the butt end of humanity. When you're looking at these people out here, and you can read it for yourself, right? Trashing Leicester Square, which is like a prominent place within England. That's like one of the top places out there. It's almost the equivalent to Washington DC, because they got Parliament there and everything. But they was trashing that place off of the back of just some football. Okay, what else we got here? And in the case of one apparently intoxicated fellow putting an ignited flare into his butt, right? And what do we see when we read the scriptures within the book of Job, the 30th chapter? We're gonna read it in a second, right? Whose people I would have not set with the dogs of my flock, precisely for that reason, right? Putting an ignited flare into his bottom. That's why Job didn't want him with his dogs, man, because they do some weird stuff. They do some real strange stuff. But you can see how these scriptures play out in reality. So we're not gonna read more of that article, okay? But this is why. What did it say here? Let's close this down. Why it seems like everyone hates the British, the English abroad, and the same thing goes for them, the Babylonianites, okay, the Americans. Amsterdam. Why Amsterdam is completely justified in targeting obnoxious Brits abroad. We really should strive to be a more than necessary evil for destinations to put up with. You see that? They want your money, but damn, the behavior is ridiculous, man. Okay? The behavior is ridiculous. Officials in Amsterdam, wherever you visit for art and culture. Okay, so let's go into it. Can we see anything here? This week, the city's been in the spotlight after launching a new campaign warning Brits tourists seeking a messy weekend to stay away. See that? They're sick of them, man. And these are like Edomite-ish type of places, right? Places where other Edomites live. But this is, again, like I said, the American Edomite, the British Edomite, right? The American Edomite, the British Edomite, they're like the butt end. They're like the butt end of society, man. They're like the worst of the Edomites. British tourists ruin other travelers' holidays by getting too drunk, okay? And then doing some crazy stuff like we just read in the other article. So let's go into the book of Job. The book of Job, the 30th chapter. Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I, right? Because ultimately going back onto Adam, we're older, right? Although Esau came out first, we're technically older because we go all the way back onto Adam, the sons of God. Have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. And that's it, man. These are the basis of men that have been set up above us. And they have us in derision now. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished, for want of famine they were sorry, fleeing into the wilderness in former times desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots by the meat. They were driven forth from among men. You kind of like seeing a similar type of a thing over there where like, okay, I come and spend your money, but we don't really want you around. Even amongst other Edomite nations, again, like I said, the worst of the worst is what? Is these British and the American Edomite, man. Go up in there, trash the place, get drunk. Okay. Let me go straight to the point here. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They're viler than the earth, man. And now we're their by song. It's like, yo, you don't really see stories of Jake or the Latin tribes going into a place and messing it up. Because Jake, although like Jake, really when you understand it, the reason why Jake is the way he is because he follows after the Edomite way of life. You're talking about the thugs. Esau's the number one thug up on the face of the place. Right? You're talking about getting drunk and getting, towed up. Esau's the number one guy for that. Right? So that's why the scripture says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. Because Esau, right, is a father of the, and really, even in the physical sense, if you think about it, through the child support, Esau's like a daddy to these people, man. He's like a daddy to these niggas out here, right? The single parent niggas out here, man. And that's why they behave as awfully as they behave, because they follow after their master, man. Right? So hopefully that was of edification. Just a quick video showing you that the perception and the reality is not always as it seems, and the scriptures is always correct. But I must say, all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim, Kwa Hakodash, double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, and your brothers to be pushing his truth and sincerity. Shalom.